All right. Yeah, I thought I'd introduce some of my subscribers to Kevin Lane, this fella. But yeah, ex-prisoner, really is dangerous. Yeah, someone you wouldn't really want to upset. But he also, I watch a lot of ex-criminal interviews, and there's certain ones that kind of stand out where you think, yeah, they're actually an all right person. Really, they're just kind of, yeah, you don't want to cross them, if you know what I mean. But Kevin Lane's always been one like that for me. I've like watched loads of different ones, but yeah, Kevin Lane is, and also he's in prison now, being recalled to prison. He's a lifer, so basically, if you do anything, they let you out of prison. But if you do anything, you're going in back in prison, and he's back in prison for a crime that I really don't think he did. And he's wrote a book about him not doing it, and basically lays out all the evidence. So I recommend people getting his book too. But he's done like 28 years in prison for something that he didn't do. I mean, he done some years in prison for some things he did do, but I don't actually think he did that one because yeah, and he's denied it the whole time. But yeah, he's been recalled for that same thing. But I just see him on Matt Legg's podcast, and Matt Legg said about this. It's kind of a bit of a scared straight, I guess, but I don't think the kids are bad kids. But it's ex-prisoner um, gives teens a terrifying taste of prison life. So basically, yeah, an ex-prisoner terrifying kids. But I recommend looking into Kev Lane too. Watch him on James English and Sean Atwoods, and yeah, read his book. But yeah, I thought this would be funny. So yeah, Kevin Lane, terrifying kids. Let's go.
Was I a bad man in prison? Did I commit acts that were
Yeah,
bad?
in prison, yes.
Yes, plenty of them. I've got a very short temper. If you cross me, I'll hurt you.
And I have to say, I've heard a lot of other people like he's not bullshitting either. He really is what he says he is, and other people like that was in the prison system confirm Kevin Lane is that guy. Like he's that name in prison. So yeah, he's not just someone out here bullshitting. He really is. Like I mean, he went to prison for something he didn't do, but he's more than capable of surviving in prison, or flourishing in prison. Do you know what I mean? He can have a fight. He's not afraid to fight, and yeah.
I'm not going to be intimidated.
Gelignite and dynamite. Take your pick.
Are you hearing that?
I was in prison for a total of 24 years for kidnapping
24.
and murder, and I was in prison with the worst of the worst and the best of the best. I'll answer any questions you'd like to ask me.
Whoa, and I'm first.
Good luck. Good luck.
Thank you.
Good luck.
That's the funny thing. They actually all look kind of scared. But Kevin Lane is actually a really nice fella, and would never ever hurt a kid or a woman. Do you know what I mean? He hurt people that was in that life. Do you know what I mean?
Well, I've had a look at you and you look quite intimidating, I must say. But I'm not going to be intimidated, and I'm going to ask everything because I want to absolutely grill you. What happened? How did you get into prison?
So they stole some equipment, £100,000 worth of property. The owners of the property went to the police. The thieves came back and threatened the girl who informed them. I had a security company at the time, and I was asked to go and show these gentlemen the error of their ways. And when he came, I took him away. I took him to a very dark place in the woods. I ran him over a few times, fractured his legs, smashed his head to bits with an iron bar, and then threw him in a canal after I sprayed him with CS gas.
Are you hearing that? Are you hearing that?
I personally do not think violence is the way. You know, I'm a Christian and I've been brought up in a way that, you know, violence is just not the way to go about.
So you're a young man, you've not got much experience of life, okay? I've been brought up on violence. Unfortunately, the laws of this country cannot protect everybody. And you sitting there in your high and mighty horse, you'll have a different approach to what you have now when someone treads on your toes or smashes your car up. Then let's see if your faith takes you through.
Well, I hope it does, because I do not want to end up like you.
Oh, he said that to his face.
I'm a violent man, so I believe people who deserve it. If you cross me, I'll hurt you. Gelignite and dynamite. Take your pick, because you're going to sleep. And
Paul Ferris, who's like one of the biggest Scottish comedians, gangsters, said that Kevin Lane said that to him. Someone had give the word to look out for Paul Ferris because he was coming to a English prison and to like look after him while he's down there. And he said Kevin Lane walked in his cell and said that this one's dynamite. Yeah, take your pick. He's like, anyone bothers you, this one's dynamite. And that is what he is. Do you know what I mean? He's knocked enough people out. Like, I even seen prison guards say that about Kevin Lane, that he's seen him knock out prison guards and actually stuck up for Kevin. He said because they was antagonising him and they took his cuffs off for him to fight them, and he knocked a pair of them out. So the prison guard said, nah, they was bullying him and they deserved what Kevin Lane did to him. But yeah, that's what I mean. But fair play to that kid. But this is what he's talking about, is not what he got 24 years for. He didn't get 24 years for the kidnapping. But he's on podcasts. Look up Kevin Lane kidnap. You'll see the person who he kidnapped was the wrong person, but they're like, they do podcasts together talking about it, and you see how Kevin Lane ruined that man's life, and it wasn't even the right person. That's not the crime he got 24 years for. That was a crime of murder, which he didn't do. The kidnappings he did do. That's what I mean. But like he said, Kevin Lane, the reason he done it was because someone had nicked off his mate. They'd held a knife to a pregnant woman, and that's what Kevin Lane said. The whole time I was torturing that matey, I had in my head, you held a knife to a pregnant woman, but he got the wrong person. And yeah,
I used to say that to people before I have a straightener with them. That's the best way to work someone with your hands, because it's personal.
I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say.
Do you think that, you know, the time that you're in prison, 24 years, do you think you've now changed?
I have changed in that I have more understanding for others. It's not all black and white, but I don't like violence. The man I was many years ago isn't so much the man I am now. So have I learnt the error of my ways? I would say I have. I've since met the victim through restorative justice, and believe it or not, we've hit neutral ground and become friends. You're an intelligent young man and a decent lad, I can see that. Right, do you want to come for a ride in my car?
look up them podcasts. His name's Will Delaney or something like that, the person who Kevin kidnapped. Look up them podcasts. They do podcasts together, and it's fascinating. You really see as well both sides of the thing, because you see how much Kevin destroyed that man's life, and it wasn't even the right person.
No.
I know you wouldn't, 'cause it'd be in the boot.
Yeah, that's Kevin's thing.
This is going to be a really weird question, but do you have any pets in prison?
I had a budgie. His name was Joey. He was allowed to fly about the wing. He would talk to you, and we used to have a drink, and he could talk in different languages.
Is a budgie a bird?
Budgie.
Wait, what's that?
Ah, tortoise.
A tortoise?
No, budgie's a bird.
I thought you were being serious.
Yeah, like that time, you know, like that bird.
Yeah. Did you listen to music in prison?
I used to have parties. You couldn't come to my party unless you was invited, and you had to dress up like we was going out on Friday night.
That guy's mad.
You'd come dressed up, we'd have all the booze.
That's another thing Paul Ferris said. Look up Paul Ferris as well. Big time Scottish gangster. But he said when Kevin Lane come in and said, oh yeah, this one's this one's that. Anyone bothers you, I'll knock them out for you. He said, then he went to me, what are you doing Friday? Paul Ferris was like, you mean what I'm doing Friday? I'm in prison. I'm going to be in prison on Friday. Like, he's like, come by and have a drink, have a party. You got to dress up. Like, you got to have a dance. And he said, yeah, Kevin used to have parties in his cell.
And brewed and made it, put the music on, get absolutely plastered because it was so strong, the alcohol.
How can you be drunk in prison? I don't understand.
Wouldn't it be spotted? Yeah.
Like, how do you have alcohol in prison?
So you just have to get your orange juice, your sugar, mix it all up, form your yeast, and then it ferments. I'm not going to give you the details of it now because you'll be doing it at uni.
Of course. Okay, so you said you were in prison for 24 years. What are you doing now?
I've designed a home that is affordable to people that can never buy a home. I enjoy going to work and being successful in that crime doesn't pay.
That's another thing that's kind of crazy about Kevin Lane, is that he was actually a Hoover salesman, but he also had a security company, and that's what got him in trouble. But he was a Hoover salesman, and he also was going to get into CCTV security way before it was a thing. He's kind of saw that was kind. He's got a good business mind, and yeah, apparently he's like you said, he's designed a home, an affordable home for people.
What's the worst thing that you've seen happen to someone?
Worst thing I've seen happen to someone. Boiling hot fat put straight over the head, and the head went like crackling, their ear fell off and they was put in intensive care. And he was getting out on the Monday, and that was a Friday evening, for moving someone's food bag in the freezer.
Oh my God.
And he was getting out on the Monday, and that was a Friday.
Ridiculous.
You become immune to it because you're seeing so much violence every year, every month. I've seen people's ears fall off, I've seen people been stabbed through the neck, people slashed to pieces, where you're in the showers and someone's just slashing them and slashing them.
Yeah, but prison's supposed to be like rehabilitation, you know? So why are they being tortured?
Well, for someone that's just come straight into jail, do you feel like they have a way of sort of surviving without...
Yeah, make an
without
ally
dealing-
very quickly. Make an ally very quickly.
I don't know why, but I'd want to be friends with him in prison because
He seems safe.
can be kind and is good with his hands.
When you were in prison, what would you say you...
Yeah, that's something I have to say about Kevin Lane, is that although he's a savage, like he said in prison, he's like, they'll bring some, like, he's like, he even got on with terrorists. He's like, they'll bash someone up and put them down the block, and Kevin would be like, no, I'm going to see him. I'm going to see if he's all right. See what you've done to him. I'm going to take him a dinner. He's like, and that's how prison should be. You should all look out for one another, and that's what he was like. Right, make sure everyone's eating on the wing, and yeah. So what these kids have noticed straight away is something that you do notice about Kevin Lane, that he has kind of that. Although he's a savage, there is a kind of like, there's a good guy in him. Do you know what I mean? And that he's not a bully, and he's going to look after people that are bullied. Like,
in the hierarchy?
Luckily, when I came into prison, it was for the old school era. Now it's postcodes wars. So there's a massive influx of young kids into prison now, opposed to the old school going to work, putting a bit of time into a robbery or something and planning it. That's all gone now. It's all about robbing someone for their drugs.
Oh, that's ridiculous. That's so weird.
So what if you just sit back and just relax, like you don't want to sort of involve yourself with anyone? You're still saying that there's going to be issues for you?
Well, what kind of trainers you got on? Are they a few quid?
Yeah.
Well, I'm having them later when we come to your cell. I'm going to come in your cell and take them off you.
You're not taking it off me?
Yeah, really, I come straight in, put a knife to your throat, like that.
It's not happening.
It is happening, right? Because you're in prison and you wouldn't say nothing, and I'll be in there with 2 or 3 fellas. Not me personally, but that's what they do. They do it as quick as that, and you'll have 3 fellas in there, and they walk out your cell with your stereo, your PlayStation, if you've got all of that. Now bear in mind, you're in a hostile environment that you've never been in before. And believe me, it's like going to a country and not speaking the language. The next thing you know, you've got a load of knives in your throat. And you're in there doing 6 months or 2 years, and you think, now am I going to die for a pair of trainers? Hello, young man.
How are you?
How do you do?
I'm good, thanks.
Nice to meet you.
Nice
he
to
does
meet you.
not
A
look
bit nervous to
13.
meet
Are
you.
you, buddy?
Yeah.
Don't you hurt me, that's more to the point, all right? You'll be like that bleeding Home Alone kid, I know you will.
Were you a bad man?
Was I a bad man in prison? Did I commit acts? that
Yeah,
were bad?
in prison, yes.
Violent acts?
Yeah.
Yes, plenty of them. Never with a tool,
Yeah.
always with my hands.
Yeah.
And it was pretty much always in defence of other people. Pretty much all the time.
Violence is never the answer.
No, it's not. Still not the right thing.
So I just wondered, like, if anyone actually tried to, like, escape.
There's been a few escapes, and my friend hijacked a helicopter.
Really?
Yeah.
Could he fly it?
Well, what he did, he was having lessons, cheeky bugger, and he's made the fella fly a helicopter into a prison.
Did he?
And then all the lads ran in and jumped in and flew off.
Wait, did he get out? Did he
Yeah, they
get
got
away?
out, they got away.
Did they not get him back?
They did get back, and Teddy, the beautiful part about this is, one of the lads who jumped on the plane, or the helicopter, he ended up having a baby as a result, because he formed a relationship whilst he had escaped, and had a daughter that he never would have had. He went back to prison, of course. He got a little bit extra time for that.
But you still escaped.
We still escaped.
They all escaped though, illegally.
Did you feel like cut off from the rest of the world in the sense of like high security prisons would feel obviously secluded and like away from your family?
You're a clever young man. Yes, I did. Especially when I'm looking at the bloody wall in front of me.
After leaving prison, what did you do?
So I went and got a haircut.
Did you?
And a Chinese.
Did you?
I love the Chinese. And I went to work, I set up a company, and before I knew it, I had 1.7 million off of one company in 1 year.
Wow. So he's loaded.
I'm also an author, written a book, and I enjoy work. And believe
Yeah.
me, Teddy, you go to work, you get some satisfaction out of it.
He's changed his ways, he's got a second chance, and he's doing good. Do you know what? Good on him.
The victim of Kevin's kidnapping was innocent of the original theft and threatening behaviour. It wasn't actually a case of mistaken identity either. Everybody said it was that guy. Kevin held the office hostage. Kevin has completed a restorative justice program with the victim, yeah. And they do speeches and everything together, like they're actually friends now. All the teens were chosen for their robust nature and were supported throughout the filming. Yeah. Yeah, them kids was great. But they have no idea what they're like. Yeah. They have no idea what, like, prison is. And you just hear, like he said, it can be someone got hot fat thrown over him for moving someone's food in the fridge. That's what it's like, people. And like, I've seen Kevin Lane say, it's like, it can be as simple as how you say hello in the morning to someone, how you say good morning. Someone might think that you're being a bit funny with them. Go, would you? And he's like, no, that's all it takes. And then the next thing, you get like someone's trying to stab you, or yeah. But Kevin's also got a story talking about the escape thing. He tells a good story of an old man who was like a straight goer his whole life, and then just for some crazy reason got involved in scamming some money off of the company I think he'd worked for years. And he got nicked for it and went to prison for it. And but he was like an old man. But Kevin said, yeah, they was gonna basically give him enough years that he'd die in prison. So he's like, he's only a little old man. And no, it weren't Kevin actually, it was Blink, Scottish gangster Blink. But he's saying, yeah, this little old man who's a straight goer his whole life had some mates who basically jumped out of a bush when they were moving prisons, held up the van and freed him. And he said he always used to tell us he never actually got any money from it. He's like, but I hope he did, and I hope he's somewhere now living off of that money that he scammed. And yeah, after he broke out, I don't think they ever caught him. I think he must have got straight out of the country. But yeah, I recommend looking up Kevin Lane. Fascinating character. But pretty much them kids seeing Kevin Lane straight away, which I think people do like. Like I say, I watch so many different people, so many different ex-criminals, but Kevin Lane is someone you think he's actually all right. Do you know what I mean? Like I say, you wouldn't want to upset him. You wouldn't want to get on the wrong side of him because you end up in the boot of his car. But yeah, that being said, he seems all right. But yeah, them kids was funny though. But saying, saying that happens in prison, violence happens in prison. When you see like them videos of boys play fighting in prisons, they do a stabbing motion with nothing in their hand. That's how they play fight, stabbing. Mental. But yeah, you see a lot of people say that as well, that no one really cares in prison now because it's all about postcode wars, where each person's from and who they got beef with, and that's pretty much what the prison is now. But yeah, I recommend everyone look up some Kevin Lane. Like I say, he's a fascinating individual. But yeah, that's the reaction. Sweet.